You know that moment when your cat finally chooses you? After ignoring you all day, doing whatever it wants, acting like you don't even exist, it suddenly walks over, curls up beside you, and everything just slows down, your breathing softens, your thoughts get quieter, and for the first time all day, you feel completely at ease. And somehow, even when it knocks things over, stares at you with zero guilt, and walks away mid-affection, you don't get mad. You almost admire it. If you've ever felt that, really felt that, then you know this isn't normal comfort. So why does something so simple feel so powerful? Why does a cat's presence calm you more than most people ever could? This isn't about cats. It's about how your mind works. Here's the part most people get wrong. Loving cats isn't really about your personality. It's about how your nervous system regulates the world around you. Some people are wired to feel better through stimulation, movement, noise, interaction, constant feedback. Their energy rises when something is happening. That's why they naturally gravitate toward dogs. Dogs match and amplify that outward energy, but others are different. Their system doesn't calm down through more input. It calms down through less, through quiet, through stillness, through environments that don't constantly ask something from them. This is what psychologists call regulation style. If you've ever felt overwhelmed in loud places, drained after too much social interaction, or mentally exhausted from constant engagement, that's overstimulation. And what your body is searching for isn't more excitement, it's downregulation, a slower pace, lower intensity, less demand. And that's exactly what a cat offers. No sudden bursts of energy, no constant need for attention, no pressure to respond, just a presence that lets your system settle naturally. Some people aren't antisocial, they're just overloaded. And once you understand that, liking cats stops being a random preference and starts making complete psychological sense. Here's where it starts to get more personal. Most human relationships come with invisible rules. You're expected to respond quickly, to match someone's emotional energy, to explain how you feel, even when you don't fully understand it yourself. There's always a subtle pressure to show up the right way. Be warm enough, be expressive enough, be present enough, and even something as simple as affection can turn into performance. If you're quiet, people ask why. If you pull back, they assume something's wrong. If you don't react the way they expect, it creates tension. Over time, that becomes exhausting. Not because you don't care, but because you're constantly adjusting yourself to fit someone else's emotional rhythm. Now compare that to a cat. A cat doesn't demand your attention. It doesn't judge your mood. It doesn't require you to explain anything. If you're quiet, it sits with you. If you're distant, it gives you space. If it wants affection, it offers it without forcing it. There's no performance required to be accepted, and that creates something incredibly rare: connection without pressure. Cat people don't avoid people. They avoid emotional pressure. They're not rejecting closeness. They're choosing a form of closeness that doesn't overwhelm their system. And, for certain minds, that difference means everything. Now here's where it goes deeper, beyond comfort, into psychology. Cats operate on something most human relationships struggle with: consent. With a cat, nothing is automatic. Affection isn't given just because you want it. It has to be earned. And more importantly, it has to be respected. If a cat pulls away, you don't chase it. If its tail flicks or its body stiffens, you pause. If it comes closer, you respond gently. Over time, you start noticing things you never paid attention to before. Small shifts in posture, subtle changes in breathing, tiny signals most people would ignore. You become more observant, more patient, more attuned. Because with a cat, connection doesn't come from control, it comes from understanding. And that changes how you relate, not just to animals, but to everything. For people who grew up feeling over-controlled, constantly corrected, or emotionally managed, this kind of relationship feels different, safer. Because there's no force, no intrusion, no expectation to give more than you have, just space, and the option to move closer when you're ready. Cats don't just respect boundaries, they teach you how to feel them. And once you experience a connection built on that kind of quiet, mutual respect, it's hard to go back to anything that feels forced or overwhelming. Now let's bring in something more scientific, because this feeling isn't just emotional, it's biological. A cat's purr operates at low rhythmic frequencies, typically between 25 and 150 hertz, and your nervous system is incredibly sensitive to that range. Before you even realize what's happening, your body starts to respond. Your breathing slows down. Your muscles begin to relax. Your heart rate stabilizes. Even stress hormones like cortisol start to decrease. And the most interesting part? This happens before conscious thought. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to understand it. Your body just knows. Low frequency, repetitive sound signals safety to the brain. It tells your system, nothing urgent is happening, you can let go. In a world full of sudden noise, constant alerts, and unpredictable stimulation, that kind of signal is rare. It sits right between silence and chaos. Not empty, not overwhelming, just steady. It's comfort without conversation. No need to explain how you feel. No need to respond correctly. No need to be on. Just a quiet, consistent presence that helps your body return to baseline. And once your system learns that feeling, it naturally starts to seek it again. Now here's something that might surprise you. Research has found that cat lovers tend to score higher on cognitive tests. But before you start thinking cats are secretly making people smarter, that's not what's happening. It's not the cat. It's the kind of person who's drawn to them. Certain traits tend to cluster together. People who prefer cats are more likely to be introverted, open to new ideas, and naturally introspective. They spend more time thinking, reflecting, analyzing. Not because they have to, but because that's where their mind naturally goes. And those habits, over time, strengthen cognitive ability. So it's not that cats create intelligence, they simply coexist with the kind of mind that values depth over stimulation, a mind that doesn't need constant noise to stay engaged. But here's the twist. Smart, but overthinking. Silly, because the same mind that reflects deeply also tends to analyze everything, replay conversations, imagine scenarios, question decisions. It's a double-edged sword. You understand more, but you also feel more. And maybe that's another reason cats fit so well. They don't add more noise to an already active mind. They just sit quietly beside it and let it slow down. Now think about how your mind works when you're at your best. When you're focused, really focused. You don't want interruptions. You don't want noise. You don't want to be pulled out of that space. Deep thinking, whether it's writing, creating, solving problems, or just reflecting, depends on something most environments don't give you: silence, continuity, uninterrupted attention. That's what psychologists often call deep work. And here's the problem. Most things in life break that state. Notifications, people talking, sudden demands for your attention, even well-meaning interactions can pull you out of that mental flow. But a cat doesn't do that. It doesn't interrupt your thoughts. It doesn't demand engagement every few minutes. It doesn't drag your attention outward. It simply exists in the same space, without breaking it. And somehow, that makes a difference. Cats protect your mental space. They allow you to stay inside your own mind, without feeling alone. For thinkers and creators, that's rare. Because what they need isn't constant interaction. It's a quiet presence that doesn't compete with their thoughts, but gently coexists with them. There's another layer to this, and it's deeply biological. Your brain is wired to respond to certain visual cues: large eyes, soft features, rounded shapes, small, gentle movements. Psychologists call this the baby schema. When your brain detects these traits, it automatically activates caregiving instincts. Before you even think about it, it's the same mechanism that makes humans feel protective toward infants. And cats? They match this pattern almost perfectly. When a cat looks up at you, your brain doesn't just register an animal. On a deeper level, It registers something vulnerable, something to care for. That's why the emotional pull can feel so immediate and so strong. But here's the part most people don't notice. The care flows in one direction, without pressure coming back. The cat doesn't ask you to be cheerful. It doesn't expect emotional reassurance. It doesn't monitor how well you're doing. You give because you want to, not because you're required to. And for many people, that dynamic feels incredibly safe because it allows closeness without the weight of constant emotional reciprocity. Just quiet care, freely given. And this is where everything comes together, because in the end, this was never really about cats. It was about you, about the kind of environment your mind feels safe in, about the kind of connection your body naturally leans toward. Some people thrive in noise, intensity, constant interaction. But you don't need that to feel connected. You don't need constant reassurance. You don't need loud expressions of emotion. You don't need to be on all the time. What you need is something quieter, a space with less pressure, a connection that doesn't demand performance, a presence that allows you to exist as you are, without adjusting yourself. And that's exactly what cats represent. Not distance, not disconnection, but a different kind of closeness. One that unfolds slowly, one that respects boundaries, one that doesn't overwhelm your system. You're not distant. You're selective with energy. You choose where to invest your attention. You protect your mental space. You value depth over intensity. And when you find something or someone that matches that rhythm, you don't need more. You just need it to feel right. So the next time your cat disappears for hours, then suddenly shows up and chooses to sit beside you, remember this: it's not random. It's not just a habit. It's something deeper. Your cat didn't choose you. Your body did. It recognized a kind of presence that brings you back to balance, a connection that doesn't overwhelm you, a quiet space where you don't have to perform. And maybe that's why it feels so different, because it fits you, exactly the way you are. And if this resonated with you, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next deep psychology video.